Just a quick outline of the presentation talk. Background about what are seabirds, some field identification of the seabirds in the country, then a discussion about the populations of seabirds that we have in Tobago specifically, conservation and ecology of two species, one shearwaters and red-billed tropicbirds. We also did a small mammal survey of the Tobago while we were there. We did some camera trapping and a carrying capacity survey of the Tobago. The health status of Tobago seabirds. I have a colleague here, Ariane Brown. She will talk to you about that. She assisted with my project, and it was also doing a separate project, so she will introduce herself later. And then just what we expect in the future. So I'm sure most people know what birds are and what seabirds are. But just to look at why we call them seabirds and not passerines or raptors. Seabirds are birds that forage in a marine environment over open water. So people usually have groups of birds, the land birds, the passerines and the songbirds. Seabirds forage offshore. You have shorebirds as well, which kind of Brazilian, it's in the Gulf, but they would feed on the shore but fly over water and stuff. But because these feed over open water, they're called seabirds. But all birds have to nest on land because they can't really nest in water. So worldwide there are 222 marine species, some partially marine, and 65 in general, and 4 others. Yeah. So we don't have these, but they are seabirds, even though they're flightless birds, found in South America, Southern Pole, Antarctica. We have some of these include groups such as the albatrosses, petrels, fulmars, shearwaters. We have one shearwater that breeds in Tobago. Pelicans, you all know the group of what a pelican looks like in general. But this group also includes boobies, not those kind, but birds called boobies, frigates, gallants, cormorants. The largest group is actually the caratiforms, which includes the gulls, seagulls, terns, squirrels, skimmers. Right, so seabirds in general, they are very diverse group of birds. They are found worldwide in all the continents, both poles. Most abundant, so some individual species range up to 10 million individuals worldwide, those are the populations. Also, there are some rare seabirds, Chatham Island petrel, 10 to 20 pairs, so each of these are very rare birds. And also there are some highly endemic species in the Caribbean. The black-cap petrel is found in Haiti and those areas like that. So very endemic seabird species as well. I'm going to skip the next slide. This is mostly a lot of ecology. This slide is actually used for presentations for like schools and secondary schools. I just put it in to show you background in seabird ecology. Yeah. So in the Caribbean, we have 25 seabird species breeding on around 800 islands within 39 countries. So they're very widespread birds. We shelter the birds species. For instance, just an example of how far these birds fly very far, whereas the land birds might not need to go very far because their food is pretty near. Seabirds need to feed offshore. This is a GPS map of one bird, a white-tailed tropic bird, and 1 week in 2008 flying around the Bahamas. And that's just 800 kilometers, that's just the length, the distance. So it's not the total flight, but it's moving around. Our next bird, or one shearwater, in 1 week alone, this is a GPS logger. Just flying around, feeding, moving around the different feeding habitats. 1,200 kilometers. Two groups of shearwaters and tropicbirds are the really Caribbean birds. This is actually scattered plot of where the birds have been in a 1 year period. The red would be, the pink would be the shearwaters, and the green is the chocolate birds. But you can see how far they've traveled all up to past North America, all the way across the mid-Atlantic. This is just 1 year, and a few birds. I think this was 6 birds total that they just logged for 1 year. Let's skip the next slide. Right, so the next bird. So we have what we call Caribbean seabirds, like the shearwaters and the chocolate birds. But the Europeans and the other side of the world has other seabirds. So for instance, the Korean shearwater, they consider it a European seabird, but you can see where the flight pattern is, the migratory routes, it's overlapping with the shearwaters and the Caribbean seabirds. So these are very wide-ranging birds. They travel very far through the year. Threats, like everything else in the world, all living things, the different threats. There are transboundary in nature. The birds move around, so when you deal with researchers, you can be working on the same bird, and a guy in Tobago can work on the same bird with somebody in Bahamas, in North Carolina. But definitely, the threats are also transboundary. For example, the fisheries, seabirds feed on fish species, squid, that kind of stuff. With declining fisheries, you have chain reaction, it means declining seabirds, oil spills. This project is actually funded by the US Fish and Wildlife after that oil spill and the Blackwater Horizon oil spill. The funds from that went to US Fish and Wildlife. They passed on to a group called Birds Caribbean Group, who distributed down the islands. So this is actually a ripple effect of this threat. There are also seabird groups in the world. People study a lot of birds around the world. Yeah. Close this one. So that's a general background of what are seabirds, what's going on with seabirds in the world. Right. Lots of field guides available. Our field guides have pretty good identification of birds. But if we've had other birds, as we've seen, other birds have been flying around through hurricanes, maybe you can use these books to identify seabirds. Can anyone guess? So I'm just going to push a couple of birds. We all know what it is. Right, so let us move along quickly to these slides. These are different Falcon photos. Let's see, next question mark. Anybody can tell me what bird is it? Not the birders, not Chris.
Oh, I like that.
But this is not the one shearwater in flight. Very small bird, very dull looking, fancy colors. So one shearwaters, which we have in Tobago, not in Trinidad. Anybody?
Tropic bird. Tropic bird.
Not now. Nope. Next slide is shearwaters. It's white-tailed tropic bird, which we don't have many of. This is actually a rare species. I think last year we seen one individual in a year of surveys in Tobago. Next slide. This is the other tropic bird. This is the regular tropic bird. It's more common, so we have these as well. All over these birds we have in Tobago. Yeah, so frigate birds, different characteristics. You can tell whether it's adult, juvenile, male, female, breeding males in flight. Mask, this is a mask movie. Next slide. This is a facial mask. We only saw one breed in the last year or so. It's fairly uncommon.
Another booby.
Yeah, brown breeds.
Darshan, we saw boobies on some stacks off in the Grand Boca of Venezuela. A whole stack full of boobies.
Right, yeah.
As you're going out the Grand Boca
okay.
to the north coast of the Peninsula,
Right.
there were one stack had only pelicans and one stack had only boobies.
So more brown breed photos. This one is a
Redfoot booby.
yeah, kind of gives the away. That's the red feet, so red feet movie. there's different phases. There's a white phase, there's a dark phase. The tail of different colors. So, yeah.
And all of these are found in Tobago?
Yeah, all these species are breeding in Tobago.
Wow.
Except the pelican, we call it pelican breeding. But
Right.
they're found roosting or breeding. Most of these are breeding in Tobago. So they put up species that are breeding there or roosting there.
Right.
It's a turtle. It's a sea turtle. And the next species of turtle we have is the
Start turnover.
This is a bridal turtle. Just a slight difference in terms of where the white, which is over the eye, and the color. This one is the next turtle species. Bridal turtle. Brown type turtle. So those are just a group of the birds that you expect to find when you go off to like the Tobago, St. John's Island. So our study sites was in Tobago. We had three main areas that we surveyed and studied. Smith Island, Little Tobago, St. John's. There are other islands, but they don't have significant numbers of birds there. I mean, we did look at them. There's a couple islands here, small rocks on one side, but they're just not worthy to study at the scope of this project. So, this is Smith Island. This is 1 kilometer offshore.
But is that sort of like accessible for, like if we were a group wanted to go and...
Smith Island, how we surveyed this is basically park on the road, put up our scope, and look. So we didn't get it land on this island, but next photo, St. Giles, we didn't land on this either. I've heard of people who've landed before. It's very treacherous to land on. Well, what we did to survey this island, which is really fantastic, is the circumland beneath it. It's like an hour boat ride. A boat takes you around in 1 hour, and you can see. It's really, really spectacular. Yeah, this is Tobago. We focused more on Tobago because accessibility was much easier. There's a camera on the island, there are trails well defined. There's a jetty that doesn't really work too well. And so we have different points on the island where we have done our surveys. There are a couple of lookout points. If you've been to Tobago, you'll see little sheds, which are really good for looking at and counting and surveying seabirds from the same point regularly. So we would have looked at Northeast Overlook, which was lookout number 2, and observation hut here, which gave you an island. So we were able to look at this side of the island and that side of the island. There are not many seabirds nesting on the leeward side. This is the windward side. So we did many different small activities throughout the last year to get a better understanding of the ecology of seabirds on the islands. One way of figuring out how many birds there are, what species there are, is by doing a simple point count method. So we would go out once a month for a weekend, and for 15 minutes at each site, like at Smith Island, we'll stop on the road, count 15 minutes, identify everything that we could identify with stopping scopes and binoculars. And we do it in the morning and evening, so we would do, usually we get to Tobago on Saturday lunchtime, we would evening count, we would morning count, and we would even come back on the weekend. And we identify the species, the age classes, whether they were nesting, roosting, or flying. And this is the view from lookout number 2, St. Giles in the back. So you get a really good idea of the birds nesting on both sides of this young cliffs. Tools of these this on the left lookout, so you can see birds flying around, chocolate bird there. So we basically start from one end and just count. And you have to count every individual species, every individual bird. You can see number of nests, number of chicks. A couple more photos of birds in flight, and they're really hard to count when they're flying. So chocolate birds, you have to kind of like, you can't find the 40 or 50 quickly. Brown boobies roosting on a cliff wall. This is the same site, just zoomed in. Yeah. There's also the one number 1, which is basically the same view, but it's not very accessible. So there are different sites you can use or walk down. Another point we looked at was on Alexander Bay, which is on the other side of the island. There are 2 main huts on the island. and it's really good for studying seabirds. Actually, birds nest underneath, right underneath these boards. You get like 5, 6 tropic birds nesting right there along the trail. So if you go to the breeding season, you can see lots of birds there. So just be careful when you're walking on those boards. So this is the view from the other side of the island. And basically we could use this other canvas and count everything. Right? So we have an idea of the area of what we're counting. We know how many birds we have counted. And we can figure out the density of these birds in this area. So this is a zoomed in shot. You can see brown bees on a couple of nests. Yeah. Smith's Island, that is the view basically. Story Road, very dangerous corner. And you just zoom in and you can see one side of the island, so we don't know what's the other side. They also wanted to take a boat to go around.
But there doesn't seem to have any kind of access point there.
There's some structure on the island, so I'm sure there's access on it. And you do see birds flying up from the windward side. So, like, Central Islands, different views. This one is from Flagstaff Hill. You can see a very nice view from Central, but you can't really count from that far unless you have really high powered lens. Just show up a series of shots. You can see birds flying around. This photo, so this is what we actually circumnavigating. You can get up close with calm seas. And what we have planned to do, and we have done, is to take a series of photographs as we go around the island. So we have this documented series. So when you're there, it's very hard to count from a boat. And the boat is moving, birds are flying, and you're getting nauseous. So we took photographs, a series of photographs, and we have counted from the photographs. Not all the species we can do that, because there are some birds that will be nesting in cavities, nesting in rocks. But for the frigate birds, the boobies were up and out, so we can count those birds outside. There's a series of shots. So, what do we get from all those counts? This is the now this is preliminary data. We haven't fully analyzed our stats and stuff yet. There is a seabird breeding, inventory of breeding seabirds in the Caribbean. It's a book that was published 2007 or 8. And it has documents of all the islands in the Caribbean and the estimates. So these estimates were done in early 2000s. It's like I had the first column comparing that count, this is 15 years ago, 15 odd years ago, with what we found. And you can see, like pelicans, we just found a few roosting. Frigate birds were very interesting. 15 years ago, there were 800 breeding pairs. Now, when it comes to breeding pairs versus an individual bird, we look to see, why a pair? Because we know that pair is potential for next generation of birds. So 800 breeding pairs would ideally give you 800 individual birds in a perfect world. So you can count the next generation of birds. When we counted in St. George Island over 2 years, we did about 3 counts total. We estimated, and it's a very rough estimate, between 6,000 and 10,000 breeding pairs, which is probably the largest population in the Caribbean by over 50%. So the second highest would be Barbados, which has like 2,000 breeding pairs. Initially we were looking about at like 1,000 or 1,000 breeding pairs, but it's increased in the last 15 years. Laughing gulls, we found a lot of them as well, increased. Some species numbers have dropped over the 15 years. But note that we did this in 1 year time, so we need to continue doing this more and see if there's actually any decrease. So we're not making any assumptions just yet. Sooty terns, we found a few of them. Bridled, fewer. Royal, we found royal terns. No roseate terns, brown bodies. So those weren't really our focus species because they're hard to define, hard to count really. Next slide. White tropic bird, we found one pair, we found an individual that was flying in and out of a potential nest, so that's possibly one pair. Red-billed tropic birds was interesting also. The numbers have increased over the last 15 years, but flying calm. 52 pairs and 15 years ago to 2,000, about 2,200 pairs of birds breeding on the island. And these are just some of the areas that we surveyed. So there are other areas of breeding birds. If you go around from Speyside to Charlottesville, take a boat ride around that area. The coast there has cliffs, and birds also breed there, but you can't study those birds there because they are in the cliff wall. And I cannot climb, rock climb. So I was today alone, the estimate was around 2,000 pairs, because how we estimated this was by sun, doing the counts, we counted birds flying, and there's a rough estimate that you can multiply it by 6. And you get the number of breeding pairs. So we found that you go on average, you get like 300 individual birds, and based on other studies, multiply by 6 and you get the breeding pairs. Brown movies has increased, brown and red footed have stayed the same in the last few years. Those are heavily poached as well, as you know. That's a problem with seabirds. People poach the chicks, they poach the eggs, they poach the adults. Frigate birds, we were there doing surveys, and guys were fishing for frigate birds. They would throw a line in the water, frigate birds would catch it, and they would reel in birds like a kite. Yeah. So they eat most of these birds. The smaller birds they don't really eat because you have the bigger birds like boobies. So that's why the shearwaters have probably, maintained their numbers. The terns have not been affected. So this is our basic, so far, our estimates so far. So we need to revise that. We also focus on 2 species, one shearwaters and red-billed tropicbirds. Conservation ecology, more detailed work on accessible species, and that needed more work because as you saw in numbers, red-bills were increasing and shearwaters are steady, but with a lot of threats. So we did an ongoing market capture study where we banned the birds, we slide on cliffs, grab birds, pull them out, ban them. What we do, collect basic data on the birds to get an idea about the health, the morphometrics, the biology of the birds, the age. We can't sex the birds because they look the same, and they both would nest on the chicks and the eggs, because they would rotate. So a pair one would feed, one would rotate, and when the chicks are hatched, they would rotate feeding to feed the chicks.
What's colour, man? Second to last.
Right, yeah, I'll show what comment is in the, I have a diagram of comment. So we did, when comment is basically the bill, like the bill. And breeding status, when the birds were breeding, what time of the year they were breeding. So we have a few graphs of data. Like, it's very hard to dig in August, so we don't have data for August. But we can tell have a good idea of when the birds are breeding throughout the year. In the past, all these studies on seabirds, well, not all, but a few of them, in the last 20 years have been ad hoc and by bird, which is great. The last major studies were done like in the 70s, a couple of guys, there's Ralph Morris, so on. Next slide. So the birds are nested under the floorboards of the huts. That's a red-billed tropicbird. And even the chicks will be able to pick up and barn. They're very sturdy birds. Their tarsus, which is their feet are already fully grown, so you can actually put a barn and ring on their legs. Just some tools we use, the pliers and stuff. We use a tape recorder to actually attract the shearwaters. So when shearwaters would be at night, they would come in at night, we would stick a tape recorder in the hole and play back males and females, and the birds would usually come out and peck you in your hand, and you pull them out and you process them, right? Next slide. So there's some either the biometrics of the birds. We banded 40 shearwaters, 26 tropicbirds. Not very easy to access, and these are adult birds. Their weight, the mass, shearwaters are smaller, 223 grams. The tropicbirds are around 600 grams. And the difference is between is attributed to because they are feed on fish. Sometimes we get a bird and we vegetate 3-4 fish, and that will actually make a significant amount of their weight. We have fed took back up dead fish, revisited the fish, washed them out, and stuck it back down and threw it on top of it, and it worked. The wing length is seen there by W. Just measure the wing. These are to give you a better idea of how healthy the birds are, what time of the year they're molting, changing their feathers. The other ones are shorter wavelengths. Culmen is the upper margin of the beak or the bill, and as the tip to feather is measured from that. Let's see there. It's very, very stable in terms of you can see. We use it to measure the age of the birds. The younger birds should have a smaller culmen. So this third aspect of the bigger project, we also look at seabird tracking. So we want to see where the birds are going, how far they are feeding, where they are migrating to. And it's part of a bigger study across the Caribbean, done in Jamaica, BVI, UVI, and Tobago, to see where birds are flying to. So what next time?
Darshan, in the center of the Gulf of Mexico, is that an actual point?
I'm trying to remember, I'm not sure. It's there, no, these will be, so this study is actually tracking birds, they captured birds and put like GPS devices in them. I have a list of the birds, the study sites, you can get to, I guess some things here. So what we did was use a technology called geolocated global location sensing, or GLS logging, or geolocators. It's all the same thing. It's not as fancy as GPS. You know GPS all the time. GPS is very accurate, sub-meter accuracy. This is actually measuring light levels of on the device. It's a very small device. You will see photos. It's pioneered by the BAS. They were letting see where birds fly. And as I showed in earlier maps, seabirds fly a long way off. So you don't need very accurate data. You get them hundreds of kilometers, it's fine. So, how do they work? There's a photoreceptor on the device, and it basically just measures the amount of light, sunrise, sunset, measures the midday times, and from that it can determine the longitude, and from the length of the day it can determine the latitude. So the data is then processed, and we get a nice spreadsheet showing us where the birds have gone, and it just takes 1 point every 12 hours. So it's not that accurate, not that the time period. But now these devices can last 1-2 years long. We need to know where the birds are going after they leave Tobago when they are not nested there. Accuracy was 85 kilometers, so every point that I'm going to show you next is plus or minus 85 kilometers in a radius. So what we did we deployed 20 geolocators on shearwaters and with the tropicbirds, Arch and RBTR, during the breeding season on Tobago alone, because they were accessible. RBTR and tropicbirds were on the trail, you pick them up, you can get many numbers, and because they were on trail, we knew that these birds were going to come back to these nest sites every year, hopefully. So we wanted to be able to access all these devices. Now these devices are very small, they weigh less than 2% and 1% of the mass of the birds. Generally when you put stuff on birds, you want to have to weigh less than 3% of their body mass to avoid any sort of behavioral modification. So this is actually just recovery. What we did, we banded birds, so you have a ring with the number of the bird, ID basically, and we put this device on the next ring. So when we came back, it's actually just basically very low-tech zip ties and crazy glue around the ring. So we put them out last year January, went back this year January to recover as many tags. And we were pretty lucky actually, we got 12 or 20, which is really good. Normally rates across the Caribbean in other projects are like 20% recovery. So we have 6 and 6 of each bird. And data is still being processed. The data is being analyzed by a PhD student in the University of South Carolina. So for all the birds in the Caribbean. So on about shearwaters, next slide. So I have maps, basic maps of 4 devices from each bird. Now we had some problems with the devices. They fail throughout the year. So we put them all on January. Some failed February, March, April, May, June, July. So we don't have that full length of data for every individual bird. So what you see here is one bird flying around for January, February, March, 4 months with a few points. I think these are like daily points. Yeah. So you can see how far the birds are traveling in this 4 months. And this is during the breeding period. This is not out of breeding season. They breed earlier in the year. This is what next bird, 07. You see that they're inside Venezuela, but not actually accuracy 85 kilometers. So that may or may not be true. These are barns, I think. I can't remember the barns. But
what's the green triangle?
I think that's where the device, I'm not sure, where it failed, at the last point. So the triangles will move around. This one lasted 5 months on one shearwater, so flew South America. But you're looking at general range of the bird, not the individual points. 5 months breeding season, January to July, it's now getting on to breeding season. It's a separate bird. I'll spread out a little further. Next. So the on shearwaters, from those just 4 maps, and in those period of time, you can see them, they stay close to the Caribbean islands. Red-billed tropicbird. This lasted 1 month, so a few points. January to July, 6 months, traveled way across the mid-Atlantic, moved around up the Caribbean, Puerto Rico there. Lasted much longer, 11 months. You can see the distribution of how scattered the birds are moving around. We still have to show like month by month, so we're looking at like different simulations to show you how the birds are moved around individually, like whether they are moved far in 1 week or they're just close to 1 year.
Actually, do they stay together as pairs when they're out there? Do they separate?
I don't. Yes, they are. No, not pairs, but they are very high fidelity to each other. So they breed the same bird, but some years they might switch, like one partner dies.
Right.
Yeah, but then you come back to the same bird at the same site. Like we found these locators on the same birds, but at the same nest that they would have nested on a year ago.
But when they're out there, you see they're not necessarily.
Not necessarily. No. The foraging could be separate birds.
Yeah.
So Darshan, when they're out in the mid-Atlantic, they're totally aerial?
No, they are. It's alright. So they actually land in the water and sleep at night. So they will land and sleep in the water on the surface and float. I asked why there was a shark, but the density of animals there, like predators, will be very low. So one bird floating by itself, and they don't float in rafts or like 50 birds. These birds are just individual or solitary by themselves.
And what are they doing that far inland?
Right. I said the accuracy of this, those probably be off, or we don't know if 1 or 2 days maybe the bird was underwater, or if the light, but it's based on light. If it's in a hurricane, for instance, and it's cloudy, or if it's overcast the whole day, very dark, it'll affect the light level. So these are very, very crude.
But what I mean to say is that they're deep into the Orinoco and the Llanos. I mean, they're marine birds. What the hell are they doing there?
Right, so this has to be adjusted still for so look at the general area.
Okay.
Right. In Bahamas, the group who's been working with us has done this before. 2008. This is the 6 birds for each same species, total on one scattered plot. And you can see the pink is on one shearwaters, green is the white-tailed tropicbird, not white, not red-billed. We have red-billed, more of them. But you can see how far they have traveled. But the shearwaters are stuck close to the land areas. And they do go across land, as you can see. New York area. So, challenges, they're expensive, they're defective sometimes, because these have to get a better water, these birds are flying into the water, in salt water, every day, feeding in salt. So they any water diving, very sensitive instruments. And in order to get back these devices, you must get the bird, right? And after a year, It's very hard to find birds, like they're eaten, they may have moved their nests. In Tobago, some nests may have been destroyed. Like shearwaters, for instance, would nest on the edges of the cliffs, where like the water would have washed out their nests in the next year. Those seabirds were small mammals with many threats, avian, cats, dogs, rodents with human traps. Very brief survey, 80 trap nights, which is not very much. But based on other data we got from next student 15 years ago, Natalie Bujan, she got very similar results. 0 small mammals, no rodents. There's a report of 1 rodent on the island. You haven't seen it or captured it. We got cockroaches, scorpions, hermit crabs, and chicken head at one time. We also look at carrying capacity by camera tracking on the island. 2 aims. One is to see whether there are any larger animals, dogs, mongoose, rats. Secondary is to see how many people use the island. These cameras pick up chickens, dogs, in the country, ocelots here, and people. So you can check out the camera by walking in front of it. So we said, why not count the number of people walking by in every photo? So we use 2 motional cameras, trail cameras, just to put them on trails to see whether people were walking in front of it. Very basic settings. 1 year data set. So that's multiply 3, 65 by 2 cameras. Yeah. So some photos of what we got, not very glamorous photos, unlike Chris's photos of South Trinidad. So there are no mammals, which is a good thing on the island. So a couple of doves, just scan through quickly. Yeah. Doves, mockingbird. So we do get chickens, feral chickens on the island.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which have survived like 50 years from the last caretaker.
What is it?
Huh?
What is this?
Chicken. Chicken.
He's kind of up in the center.
Yeah, it's just moving around. Yeah. You see back there, this is about 10 meters of the trail. People walk by and you can actually count what time people have gone in, how many people have gone in. We're still doing that counting of data, but it's like lots of photos of people looking at when it peaks. How long will they spend on one spot if we need to manage the site for breeding birds. We have too many visitors on the island. So THA doesn't actually know any of this. They don't have an idea of how many people go on the island. It's a wildlife sanctuary.
What are they visiting the island for? So these people here?
Right. So this one is actually up to, they go to these lookouts.
I just don't spend a day.
No, a couple of hours. But the bird was about 2 hours maybe come back on average. Usually there are tour guides from stateside that take you across, and there's no permit required. But they don't have a permit. They do a couple of tours every day sometimes, and they basically walk on the jetty. When we first look out, spend maybe an hour and a half, and walk back down and go next snorkeling. So, next topic would be the health status of seabirds. Ariane will talk about this after. There's some photos I just threw in here. They did some. This is what couple of sampling to discuss further. Right. But it's hard to get photos of her in the field, so I know she should appreciate this. And that was Dr. Will Larkin. Train us on how to handle birds on Tobago. You can handle birds, they have a very strong bite. So what we expect to do soon is taking feather samples from the birds. We expect to do isotopic analysis to see what the birds have been feeding on. A poaching study is going to be done by the students, looking at where is poaching being done, what birds, how many birds, who is doing it. We're going to redeploy geolocators and possibly get better devices, more accurate devices, and artificial nest boxes. Next slide will have that. Right. So I'm actually receiving about 7 of these sometime soon, in the last 3 months. And we're going to experiment with them to see whether when they put them out, whether the shearwaters and tropicbirds will use them. As I said, some areas are very fragile, sensitive areas. You can walk along a track and the birds are right off the track. You know, when they come up the main jetty area there, shearwaters nest just on the side of the jetty and along the entire beachfront. So there are rubble piles and birds nest in year after year. And we basically want to see if they will use these. These are much more secure. There's a few in ports. There you can actually raise the cap off, look at the bird, handle the bird, target, put it back quickly. Yeah. So this is some acknowledgements and collaboration. Field assistance on occasion. And we got permission from wildlife section. And it was funded by the US Fish and Wildlife Service, Birds Caribbean, through a grant from NIFWIF, National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And just some photos of our field, our base camp. You actually camped out on the lodge, on the lodge, the cabin. Yeah, so that's Mark Kelly. He came on this year and helped us now sample. So, any questions? Let me have Ariel present first, and then you can come back to that's a juvenile white, red tropicbird under.
Did I read in the terms here that an albatross goes around for years before coming back to breed? So they stay out
there. Yeah, stay out at sea for a long time.
Another thing, I thought you might want to include this in your treatment of pelicans. It's a limerick I heard a long time ago. What a wonderful bird is the pelican. His beak can hold more than his belly can. He can store in his beak enough food for a week, and I'm damned if I know how the hell he can.